What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. We've got a very special GeoGuessr video today. I'm going to go through every single country on GeoGuessr and let you know a few features about that country that make it easily distinguishable. Now, this is not going to be everything for each country. This is going to be the most popular metas that GeoGuessr players use to recognize those countries quickly. Now remember, GeoGuessr doesn't have every country in the world. It is limited by what is covered on Google Street View, so let's just dive straight into it. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. Okay, the first continent is Africa, and throughout this video I'll be going through each country alphabetically. First one on the list is Botswana. In southern African countries you'll find yellow outside lines, and in Botswana, only in Botswana, you'll see yellow and black posts. We are also driving on the left. Eswatini, we will see long grass on the side of the road. Looks very similar to South Africa, much like Lesotho as well, but we will see this long grass, and we are also driving on the left. Ghana. Taxis in Ghana will have this yellow paneling, which is a different color to the rest of the vehicle. It's usually yellow, and we will see some yellow plates around, and we'll be driving on the right. Kenya, we'll see Safaricom stores and some red dirt. We'll also be driving on the left. Of course, we have the distinctive Google cars around Kenya with the snorkel or the front mirror. And we'll also see yellow plates in Kenya. Lesotho. Now in Lesotho there's been a lot of deforestation, so there's hardly any trees around. And we also have this very distinctive sedimentary style rock formations in the mountains. These mountains will also have flat tops. Madagascar. Now Madagascar is a tricky one because there's lots of different landscapes and there's not much meta to use. It is one of those countries that is a French colony, so we will see French language around and some certain French things. The best thing to do with Madagascar would be to learn the different types of trekker location. You can find some pretty wild and wacky trekkers such as cows at the front or driving through the valley of the baobabs. Nigeria. Now if you're in Africa and you see a greenish tint on the plates and it looks like Africa, you're most likely going to be in Nigeria. We'll also have these ladder style poles which look very similar to the Brazilian poles. Also we'll be driving on the right. Senegal. If it looks like Africa and we have these long French dashes on the side of the road, you're going to be in a French colony such as Tunisia or Senegal. We'll also see French bollards around sometimes, but Senegal will have blue plates. Also we'll be driving on the right. South Africa. Now we'll see lots of these type of fences or walls, a lot of gates, green signage, R roads, N roads, and we'll be driving on the left. Also, as previously mentioned, all southern African countries have yellow outside lines. Tunisia. Now this is another country that's similar to Senegal in that it is a French colony, so we'll see the long French dashes on the side of the road. Tunisia is a lot more deserty. The plates are very different to Senegal. They are usually black. Sometimes you'll also see a red strip on these plates too. Uganda. Uganda is one of the countries with very red dirt. Most of the roads aren't paved and we'll be driving on the left. Can look very similar to Kenya, but we will have these unpaved roads. Now let's move on to Asia. Bangladesh. The Bengali language can resemble Sanskrit with this line that goes across the top, and we can also find a lot of green tuk-tuks here. Bhutan, an incredibly mountainous country, and we will see these blocks on the side of the road. We'll have a lot of long white flags around and this very distinctive wooden architecture. Cambodia, another country with very red dirt. We'll be driving on the right, and the language is a lot more boxy and less curved like its neighbors Laos and Thailand. A good way to differentiate it from Thailand is we will be driving on the right, whereas Thailand drives on the left. Christmas Island. If it feels very islandy and you have Australian bollards around, you're most likely going to be on Christmas Island. India. India is so vast, it's kind of difficult to immediately tell if you're here unless you're lucky enough to have text. You'll usually have multiple languages on signs that resemble Sanskrit or Modi, Brahmic or Telugu, and sometimes it'll be accompanied with English. And there are much more languages depending on where you are in the country. An easy difference to tell it from Bangladesh would be that India have yellow plates. Indonesia. This is possibly the most patriotic country. We'll find even more flags around than the USA. There's long flagpoles everywhere and the plates will have 3 sections of text in them. Also, we'll be driving on the left. Israel. We'll have yellow plates front and back here, but the easiest way to tell that you're in Israel is we'll have Hebrew. Japan. Driving on the left, yellow boxy plates, and we'll have black and yellow stripes on the poles going vertical. Jordan. Mostly Arabic language everywhere. It looks quite deserty, and we'll have white elongated plates here. Kyrgyzstan. We'll have Cyrillic here, and we'll have elongated plates with a red strip where you would usually find an EU strip. Laos. Just looks very similar to Thailand, except we'll be driving on the right and we'll have yellow plates. Malaysia. Similar plates to Indonesia, except instead of 3 sections, it'll just be 2 sections. We'll be driving on the left and we'll usually have double white middle lines. If you're on the Malaysia Peninsula, you'll usually see these black stickers on the poles. Mongolia, a super diverse country that can either be barren desert or very green grasslands. It'll obviously resemble China, but we'll have Cyrillic. If you have Cyrillic and these boxy looking plates, you're likely to be in Mongolia. Also, the bollards can resemble bowling pins. Palestine. Now this will be similar to Israel obviously, but we'll see mostly white plates here, and sometimes we'll get this white follow vehicle. Philippines. We'll have a greenish tint on the plate. We'll be driving on the right. We'll have this distinctive road line, the segmented concrete road style, some English around, and look out for jeepneys. Russia. Plain elongated white plate, no EU strip. They use a bunch of different bollards and will use a ridiculous amount on a single intersection. Singapore. We'll have these distinctive street signs. The font is very recognizable. It's also very clean. South Korea. Look for circles in the language. We'll also find these diagonal black and yellow strips on the pole, and they don't go all the way to the bottom. Sri Lanka. The text resembles fruit, and we'll find some yellow plates. Very distinctive poles can be found, and these square shaped poles that sometimes have leaners with chunky inductors at the top. Taiwan will have diagonal black and yellow stripes on the pole, similar to South Korea, but they go all the way to the bottom. We'll find a lot of double yellow middle lines down the middle of the road, which can look like American road lines. Thailand. Similar segmented road style like in the Philippines, but we'll be driving on the left. We have a very distinctive language here. There will be a lot of flags and these square shaped poles that have little holes in them going all the way to the top. United Arab Emirates. It'll feel like you're in the middle of the desert. We'll have Arabic around, but then also huge skyscrapers. This is one of those countries where there's not that much meta, but it just has a very specific vibe that you can get used to eventually. Vietnam. Vietnamese writing is almost completely made up of letters of the Latin alphabet, and you'll see many digraphs and diacritics. Out of all the Asian countries, this language might be the easiest to identify. Moving on to Europe. Are you getting all of this? Albania. These bollards are only in Italy and Albania. Albanian plates can be either of 2 types. One will have a red strip on the side, like the Kyrgyzstan plate, and the other will have blue on each side. The plates that have blue on each side won't be narrow at the front, like the Italian ones. Andorra. A very distinctive country that is almost completely mountainous with this very recognizable architecture. We'll have these wooden snow poles and these boxy plates sometimes that have a bit of yellow in them. Austria. Similar to Belgium, we can sometimes find a reddish tint on the plates because the characters are sometimes red. We'll have German language. It's very alpine looking. The bollards here are the same as Slovenia, but sometimes you'll find a bump on the top, which you can't find in Slovenia. Belgium. Most plates will have this red tint because of the red characters on the plates. We'll find poles that are similar to Thai poles. They have the square shape with little dots going all the way to the top. Bulgaria. Bulgarian poles will have these 3 bits coming out the top. Bulgaria is one of the countries that you'll find Cyrillic and the Latin equivalent on the signs, but unlike Serbia and North Macedonia, these signs will be blue. Croatia. Croatia is one of the Balkan countries that have yellow signs and is also one of the countries with flat guardrails. We'll also see a lot of rock walls in Croatia. Czech Republic. These bollards are only in Slovakia and Czechia, and these are the Czech letters that you won't find in Slovakian. Denmark. Denmark have these very recognizable bollards compared to the rest of Europe, and we'll also find these metal frames around the signage. Estonia. Estonian language can look very similar to Finnish with the double vowel usage in words. We'll also find a lot of birch trees, narrow dirt roads, and white flowers here. Aru Island. We have very distinctive sedimentary style rock formations here with this tint of green that can look very similar to Iceland. The Google car is a cheeky way to tell that you're in Faroe over Iceland. Finland. Finland can have white and yellow middle lines, which is very rare in Europe. Also, if you look at a street sign and the name of the street ends in Tia, then you know that you're in Finland because this is Finnish. France. French girthy bollards, D roads that are marked with yellow, and these white arrow signs. Germany. Look for the SZ letter, which will be in the German name for street, Straße, which will obviously be easy to find on street signs. Note that you can also find this letter in Austria. Gibraltar. Just look for the very identifiable Rock of Gibraltar. Greece. Greek signs will be blue with yellow text, and Greek language is easy to spot. The poles in Greece are usually very tall and made of wood. Also, Greece is one of the only European countries to use double white lines down the middle. Hungary. These thick holy poles you will find in Hungary and Romania. However, in Romania you won't find these A-frame versions, which are only in Hungary. You have similar looking poles to this in Poland though, so be careful. And these are what Hungarian bollards look like. The Hungarian word for street is utca, and this roof style is more indicative of Hungary over Romania. Iceland. Icelandic bollards are yellow and we'll find a lot of soil that is volcanic and black. Ireland. Most roads in Ireland will have these yellow dashes down the side, and we'll also be driving on the left with white back plates. Italy. Italian plates will have blue on both sides, but the front plates will be narrow. Latvia. Latvian poles are usually A-frame and they'll have inductors that alternate in this sort of formation. Lithuania. In Lithuania we'll have Lena style poles usually, and we'll have the top looking like this with 2 or 3 horizontal pieces and some inductors on each side. Lithuanian kilometer markers, the blue numbers on the side of the road, will have a 45-degree angle to the road. Luxembourg. Out of Europe, only in Luxembourg and the Netherlands will you find front and back yellow plates. However, out of the two, Luxembourg is the super hilly one and will also have these distinctive yellow signs with white frames. Malta. Out of Europe, only Ireland, the UK and Malta drive on the left, so out of those three, Malta is very easy to identify as it is extremely Mediterranean and we have a lot of rock walls around. Monaco. Now Monaco is one of those locations that is hard to give a specific metaphor as it looks just like France. It's just one city, so you just have to get used to what that city looks like. Montenegro. Very mountainous, we'll find Cyrillic around. A key difference from Albania is that we'll have more narrow roads here. Netherlands. As previously mentioned, we'll have yellow front and back plates. It's super flat. We'll have these small blue signs around. We'll also have narrow roads, usually with tree rows. North Macedonia. This is one of the countries that has Cyrillic and the Latin equivalent on the signs. Just like Serbia, it'll have yellow signage. The back of the signs will be black usually. A key difference between Serbia and North Macedonia is Serbia has flat guardrails and North Macedonia will have the curved guardrails. Norway. Out of all of Europe, Norway has very distinctive road lines. The middle ones are yellow, which is very rare in Europe, and they are dashed. The outside lines are also long dashed lines. Utility vehicles will have green plates, and it's the most mountainous country in all of Scandinavia. Poland. Poland has holy poles, but the holes will stop either at the top or the bottom, so you'll see a gap at the bottom or you'll see a gap at the top. This is a way to tell it apart from the Hungarian poles. Polish language also has some distinctive letters such as the L with the line through it. Portugal. A ladder style pole with holes going all the way through. Portuguese plates will have the EU strip, but then also a yellow strip on the other side. Romania. Similar style poles to Hungary, but usually the bottom of these poles will be white. Romanian fences are also usually wooden and they look like this. San Marino. San Marino will resemble Italy with the language and the bollards. We'll get Italian plates here given its location, but San Marino does have distinctive plates which are small and white. Also a thing to look out for here is the crosswalks, which will always be blue in San Marino. Serbia. As previously mentioned for North Macedonia, the way to tell it apart is that we'll have flat guardrails here. Also, it is very flat in the north and very hilly in the south. And also, as previously mentioned, it has Cyrillic and the Latin equivalent with a yellow sign. Slovakia. Slovakia and Czechia not only have the same bollards, but also the same guardrails. And also, as before mentioned, the distinct letters in each country. Slovenia. Slovenia shares the same bollards as Austria, so one thing to look out for is no German language. Otherwise, you're in Austria. Slovenia also uses yellow signs like its neighboring Balkan countries. Spain. Spain has these very distinctive speed signs that don't have a white border and are full bleed red around the sides. Also in Spain we'll find yellow reflectors in the guardrails. Spain also has the most dashes in the pedestrian sign with 8 dashes in the pedestrian sign. Be careful though, because Andorra also has the same pedestrian sign and the same guardrails. Sweden. In Sweden you'll find very short dashes on the outside lines of the road. Switzerland. Switzerland has bollards that are very curved at the top. And we'll have low cam, which means we'll be very low to the ground. Turkey. Look out for stop signs that say DUR, D-U-R, and we'll also see more pylons than poles here. Also these distinct bollards that resemble the Australian ones. Ukraine. Only in Ukrainian Cyrillic will we find I letters. So if you see a sign that has Cyrillic on it and it has an I letter with 1 or 2 dots, then you're gonna be in Ukraine. Ukraine also has notably poor road quality. United Kingdom. If we're driving on the left and we have backplates that are yellow, then we're only gonna be in the UK. Alright, moving on to North America. Canada. Canada speed signs will say maximum instead of speed limit. Curacao. If we see Dutch around and it looks very tropical and Latin American, then you're likely going to be in Curacao. The Google car will have roof racks and the front will be black, unlike Dominican Republic. The Google car is almost exactly the same as Curacao except white. We'll also have no front plates in Dominican Republic. Greenland. If you see Danish looking signage with the metal frames around and it's very mountainous and snowy, we should be in Greenland. Guatemala. 95% of the time, the bottom of the poles here will be either red or green. There will be a single yellow line down the middle of the road. You'll see a lot of signs for Pepsi, and the Google car will be able to see the side mirrors just like in Kyrgyzstan. Mexico. Look out for a lot of Coca-Cola signs and Corona signs. We'll see lots of black water tanks and blue satellite dishes. We'll also see very interesting looking plates with lots of colors. You could memorize these to figure out which state you're in, or at least where the car traveled from. Puerto Rico. At the front of the car you'll see an antenna sticking out from the side, which you can also find in Guam and Northern Mariana Islands. Only out of these three will you see Spanish in Puerto Rico and sometimes no front plates on the cars. United States. Out of all the American countries, the US is the only country to use the imperial system, which is miles and yards, and the signs will say speed limit as opposed to maximum, which they have in Canada. United States Virgin Islands. If we see a lot of US looking signage but it's very tropical and we're driving on the left, then we're likely to be in the US Virgin Islands. Moving on to Oceania. American Samoa, a super mountainous tropical country almost resembling Hawaii but on a much smaller scale. The car meta here would be a black ute. Australia. Southern Hemisphere, driving on the left with all white lines. The middle lines will usually be double, and there are different metas for each state. There's a couple ways to tell it apart from New Zealand. One would be the giveaway signs, which in Australia the text is black, and in New Zealand the text would be red. Guam. We'll have that antenna that we saw in Puerto Rico, but this time we'll see a lot of English, Chinese and Korean language around. Figuring out whether you're in Guam or Northern Mariana Islands can sometimes be difficult, but one thing that's generally true is that Guam is a lot more built up, and NMI just doesn't have as much infrastructure. New Zealand, Aotearoa. Another way to tell apart Aotearoa from Australia is the bollards. The back of the New Zealand ones have a red strip going all the way around, which almost resemble Polish ones. And last but not least, South America. Argentina. Argentina have very distinct black and white road markers, usually with RN followed by the number of the road. On the roads in Argentina we'll sometimes find white dashes, and the plates should have a black spot on them. Note though that these are the older plates, and in newer coverage we'll see less and less of these. Bolivia. Look out for these Bolivian hats and terracotta buildings, but be careful because southern Peru can have this similar style brick architecture. Brazil. One of the most recognizable countries in Latin America for myself. We'll find bright double yellow lines and red dirt. We'll also have Portuguese and very distinctive landscapes. Chile. We'll find solid white lines down the middle of the roads here. Most American countries will have yellow middle lines except Argentina, but Argentina will have the dash lines. We'll also see a lot of green signage around. Chilean poles are also very distinctive. They have this long indent going all the way up. Colombia. We'll see a lot of yellow plates in Colombia, and these cross frames on the back of signs, which is known as the Colombian cross. Note though that this cross frame can be found in Brazil as well, but in Brazil the back of the signs are black, and Colombia the back of the signs should be white. Ecuador. We'll find small white bollards with red dashes or dots, and there are different variations of these, but if you're in a Latin American looking country and you see any kind of white bollard with red on it, it's more than likely that you're going to be in Ecuador. Peru. We'll have a lot of these square shaped zebra poles around, and also concrete blocks at the bottom of signposts. Uruguay. We'll see a lot of white signposts like this around, and on the back of them you should find 3 dots. You'll also see a lot of trident poles around, and that is every single country that you'll find on GeoGuessr with official coverage. I hope you enjoyed the video. This took a lot of time to make, so if you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe to support the channel. Share it with a friend if you think someone could learn from this, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourself. See you later. Bye.